You're in a bright office break room, lifting the lid from your lunch when a faint decay-like smell reaches you from a nearby bin. Fluorescent lights hum, coworkers keep typing, and nothing in the room changes. Then your stomach rolls. Saliva gathers, your chest tightens, and the meal in your hand becomes impossible to imagine eating. It is nausea from a harmless smell, followed by an immediate loss of appetite. You wait for it to pass, embarrassed by the force of it. With your lunch cooling untouched in your hand, you treat the reaction as a private quirk, a random weakness, a modern cleanliness habit. This is not a random weakness, and it did not begin in city life. Exposure to infected food-shaped pathogen disgust, a fast refusal that makes suspect food seem revolting before you eat it. For tens of thousands of years, that protection has carried a hidden price when a decay-like cue holds no present danger. It reaches past your private memory, past offices, packaged lunches, sealed bins, and every habit called cleanliness. It belongs to the deep human past, when illness from food could move through a small group with little room to absorb it. The response became part of ordinary human equipment, passed forward without asking whether the next room would be safe. That is why the reaction feels so disproportionate. You are not inventing it in the instant it arrives. You inherit a readiness older than the places where you work, eat, and throw things away. Nearly everyone alive carries some version of this refusal. It crosses languages, cities, and private histories. A smell can enter one person's day as a minor annoyance, then enter another body with the same ancient authority. No family, job, city gives one person exclusive ownership of it. The reaction does not belong to a single kind of person. Your stomach turns before the lunch has changed at all. For tens of thousands of years, this response has outlasted the world that first gave it force. Something in you treats the signal as unfinished business. Now, at the entrance to your apartment building, you push through the glass door with your keys in one hand. A decay-like odor drifts from a compost container near the mailboxes. Your body reacts before you decide that it should. The refusal is already active, immediate, and physical, turning you away from the signal. It is doing what it was made to do, putting distance between you and something marked suspect. The lobby contains no infected food. Dinner waits upstairs, untouched by that fact. Yet the response does not pause at the boundary between a danger that is present and one that is absent. It arrives with its own certainty, faster than the quiet knowledge that says you are safe. Nothing visible confronts you. There is no meal in front of you, no decision to make, no warning spoken aloud. Still, the response has entered the moment and claimed it as its own. It has not become a museum piece inside you. This is why a harmless cue can feel larger than the place around it. The glass door closes behind you. The elevator hums. You stand there with your keys, waiting for your body to settle. Your stomach gives the same rolling refusal. A decay-like smell has reached a system built to keep suspect food out. To understand that refusal, we have to return to the human past, where food and illness stood much closer together. At the edge of firelight, food waits while daylight drains from the ground. Meat has been kept close to the group, close to hands that will divide it, close to mouths that need it. Then a decay smell rises from its surface. That smell matters because food can break down while microbes multiply inside it. A person who eats infected meat does not simply lose a meal. Illness can make eating difficult, weaken movement, and pull one body away from the work of staying with the group. Near the fire, there is no sealed package, no date on a label, no clean distance between the food and the body that must trust it. The useful response is brutal in its speed. The smell reaches the nose. Appetite shuts down. Nausea makes the next bite feel impossible. Food is pushed aside before careful inspection can begin. The response does not wait for proof from the stomach. It treats the cue itself as enough. Across generations, those who turned away from suspect food reduced one route into infection. The refusal persisted because it stopped ingestion at the gate. Its force came from acting before calm judgment had time to argue. Beside the fire, the uneaten meat cools in the dark. In your body, that same refusal can still arrive as saliva gathers and the stomach tightens. A decay cue does not need permission from thought before appetite disappears. At a kitchen counter, you raise a fork toward takeout and catch a clear decay smell from the container. The food is directly in front of you. The odor belongs to the meal. Your hand stops before the bite reaches your mouth. That pause still has a use. A decay cue can mark food that should not be eaten. Nausea creates distance from the fork. Appetite falls away. You set the container aside instead of swallowing something suspect. The response has done its old job with remarkable efficiency. It has blocked ingestion before the food enters the body. Nothing about that reaction is confused in this moment. The cue is attached to the meal is close to your mouth, and withdrawal protects you from a possible source of infection. The kitchen is modern, but the body does not need an ancient landscape to recognize food that has begun to break down. Then the container is gone. Dinner later sits safely covered on the counter. A decay-like odor drifts in from the nearby trash chute, carried through the building air rather than rising from the plate. Your fork remains still. Your stomach begins the same refusal. The body has registered the smell before it has established what the smell is connected to. The safe dinner remains covered. No infected food is on the table. Yet the odor from the trash chute reaches the kitchen, and nausea rises as if the meal itself has been marked dangerous. The cue has entered the room without entering the food. At the counter, you uncover a fresh dinner after taking out the trash. The smell clings briefly to your hands and clothes. Your stomach turns, and the first mouthful becomes hard to face even though the food was nowhere near the bin. Later, a compost container opens in the hallway while you are carrying groceries home. The odor reaches you before your door does. Your appetite drops, and the food in the bag suddenly feels less like dinner than something to put down. You know where the smell came from. Your body still pulls away from eating. A signal once tied closely to suspect food can now cross a room and make a safe meal sit untouched while the odor fades. The reaction begins with a smell, but it does not always end when the smell leaves. At a station platform, you stand beside a public waste container with a sandwich sealed in your bag. A decay-like odor reaches you when the lid opens. Your stomach contracts before the train arrives. The sandwich stays wrapped. Hunger that had been clear on the walkover is replaced by the need to get farther down the platform. Inside the subway car, the same kind of odor hangs near a waste container by the door. You move away from it, but your attention keeps returning to the air around you. You stop following the message on your phone. You watch the doors, count the stops, and wait to leave. The food you plan to eat later becomes difficult to picture. A harmless cue has taken calm from your body and narrowed your attention around escape. At a shared laundry room, a bag of discarded food sits near the exit. The smell meets you while you carry a clean container of leftovers. Your hands are full, the food is sealed, and you know exactly where the odor comes from. Still, saliva gathers and your stomach turns. You put the container in the refrigerator without opening it. The meal goes uneaten because a signal from the room has reached the same refusal. Shared bins, drains, and compost containers keep placing decay-like cues near meals that have no connection to them. The cue does not need to come from infected food to start the avoidance sequence. Resemblance to decay is enough. When you finally step outside the station, your shoulders loosen and hunger begins to return. The appetite comes back only after the smell has gone. The body can keep withholding food after the source has already been left behind. At a food court table, a nearby tray is cleared into a waste bin, and a decay-like odor crosses the aisle. Your meal is fresh and untouched. You tell yourself that the smell belongs elsewhere. You take hold of the fork anyway, then leave it resting above the plate while your stomach tightens. That is the missing part. The response does not wait to identify whether the odor belongs to your food. It reacts to the decay cue before conscious knowledge can separate the safe plate from the waste bin. The old refusal was shaped to act quickly at the point where suspect food might enter you. In crowded modern spaces, the cue is no longer confined to the meal. It arrives from trash cans, drains, compost, and other people carrying it past you. You can reason with the reaction. You can read the label, check the seal, remember where the food was prepared, and tell yourself that no danger is present. None of that removes the odor already in the air. Your body has begun making eating feel wrong before your judgment has finished its argument. You can try to avoid the cue. Then a bin opens beside a cafe table, a train door closes near a waste container, or a shared room carries the smell from a drain. The signal is built into places where people eat, travel, and work. Pushing through can get the fork to your mouth, yet it does not restore the appetite that disappeared when the odor arrived. At the food court, your jaw holds still over a meal you know is safe. The gap remains between what you know and what your stomach permits. That gap is where the larger cost begins to collect. At a cafe counter, you have chosen a meal and paid for it. Then a nearby trash can opens. The decay-like odor reaches you while the food is set down. You move to another table, but the first wave has already started. Your stomach feels closed. You watch the meal cool, while you wait for the room to stop feeling contaminated. You know the food did not cause the smell. You know it is safe. That knowledge arrives after the refusal has begun. The body does not simply register dislike. It redirects attention toward leaving, interrupts the act of eating, and makes the next bite feel difficult even when hunger is still present underneath. The full cost is a false alarm that can deny you a safe meal. A harmless decay-like cue can turn the stomach, suppress appetite, and pull your focus away from food toward escape. The ancient protection now acts against an absent source of infection. Each time it fires in a shared space, the meal can be delayed, abandoned, or carried away untouched.